The government is actively working to combat the high levels of brain drain on the island, caused primarily by this imbalance of jobs needed versus prepared persons. Minister for Education Anthony Boson says government is implementing specific policies to ensure Grenadians are trained to take advantage of the available jobs on the island.
We have a serious imbalance in our human resource development, in the sense that when you look at the areas where jobs are being created and where our educational effort is being directed, there is certainly that dichotomy, and therefore we have to bridge that gap. And one of the ways we can do that is by focusing more on providing scholarships and other forms of assistance to students to pursue studies in areas where it has been established that there is a critical shortage, for example, in technical and vocational skills. There is a serious gap there, and therefore in moving forward we have to ensure that we put more emphasis on developing our technical and vocational skills, even starting at the primary level, into the secondary level, and then to the tertiary level. There are two aspects of the brain drain. One, for example, in the field of medicine, we train quite a few of our students, but they do not return, and therefore there is a serious brain drain there. But on the other hand, let us take nurses. Whereas there might be a demand for nurses in Grenada, but in essence, sometimes we train more nurses than we require, and therefore we are saying that, hey, it should not matter if they can get jobs in the other countries, let us in Trinidad, let us train them, send them to Trinidad and other places, and we benefit because they will send remittances home instead of having them here and not being trained. So it's better to train them, send them abroad, let them work, send remittances home than keeping them here and not being trained, where they become a charge on the public funds. So there's a brain drain as well as a brain gain, and we have to look at it too.
They include specialized scholarships and enforcing bond agreements to ensure students return to serve. For State of Affairs, I am Tahira Natalie Carter reporting. This is the Grenadian reality. This is our current state of affairs. Foundation work is picking up momentum in construction of Grenada's newest stadium. Chinese and Grenadian workers have begun a 3-month process of laying piles before construction work on the structure begins in July. Roll Titus visited the construction site and reports on the work in progress.
The foundation is being laid.
正在进行这个桩的钢筋制作。
Our project now, what we are doing is doing the piling, the manufacture of the piers. Now we are doing the steel work and the concrete for the piers. We finished the 100 lengths of the concrete piers already. The total amount of the concrete piers is around 1,000. The piling machine now is here on site and is installed, and it's standby, ready to work.
For the next 3 months, workers will be focusing primarily on laying those piles to create a foundation before construction on the surface kicks in. This phase of construction is projected to run until June, when work will begin on erecting the stadium structure. Tons of material and 27 Chinese engineers are on site as well.
Now what we do is at the western side, because everything inside of the rooms is new, so we're gonna demolish all of the blocks inside of the rooms and do it over according to the new drawings.
When Hurricane Ivan ravaged the country in 2004, this stadium was one of the many buildings which received a heavy battering. While many buildings across the island have since been repaired, the scars of this battered site serve as a reminder of this facility's tussle with Mother Nature. Chinese engineers are mindful of this, and as such, this new athletics and football stadium is being built to resist not just a hurricane, but an earthquake.
We designed for this big foundation and the deep foundation. That is first because we heard the hurricane in Caribbean, this area. So the deep foundation can be stable with the main structure above the earth. So this is the first, is for the hurricane, and the second is for the earthquake. That is the deep and the big foundation gonna be better when there's some disasters happened here. And the third, that is we're gonna repair, do the new roof here. So this one is also better for the hurricane come.
Grenada government had signed an agreement 8 years ago for the refurbishment of the facility following its destruction by Hurricane Ivan in 2004. However, only the cricket stadium next door was built before the Keith Mitchell administration lost the 2008 general elections. The new government, which replaced the administration, had stated that rebuilding the athletics and football stadium was not among its immediate priorities.
That was so clearly stated in the document, and despite all my pleading, when my political colleagues on the other side of the fence put Grenada first and the politics second, and see to it that we get what was signed to, politics took first preferences.
They will not only present to the Grenadian people a wonderful athletic and football stadium, but to create hundreds of job opportunities to local people.
Once completed, this sport will once again become a Grenadian landmark, a national statement of which we are all proud.
The $20 million refurbishment project is being undertaken by the China State Construction Engineering Corporation. It will include the building of 3 main stands with an 8,000 set capacity, international standard athletics tracks, a professional-sized football field, and cutting-edge media facilities. About 120 workers are expected to be on site, including many Grenadians, at the peak of construction in October.
I'm working with the chemist. You see that the concrete are going to the lab? I is the guy who take it from the machine and put it in a small box, make sure you properly ram, properly finish. What is it?
The most of the workers we can hire is maybe around 120 workers going to be on site. That is, the period is from July to October. That is when we're doing the main structure of the stadium.
The construction of a new national stadium is at a very crucial point at this time. 100 piles have been completed, made right here on this site by Chinese and Grenadian workers. Over the next 3 months, they'll be driving those piles into the ground. A crucial part of the work here, the foundation work. When those piles are driven into the ground over the next 3 months, construction will start on that particular foundation. This is the massive equipment that will drive the piles into the ground right here as the National Stadium construction continues. Facing a 20-month deadline for completion of Grenada's newest sporting monument means contractors are targeting August next year. The Chinese construction company is confident of beating the deadline.
We have a confidence, and always with help with the government, from the Ministry of the Sports, Ministry of the Works, and our Chinese government. Yeah, we have confidence we can finish on time.
Determined to give you a clearer picture, this is State of Affairs. And finally, it's time for rebuttal. This week, the myth about the amount of money Grenada is to receive as a result of the Homegrown Structural Adjustment Program, and then the reality. First, the myth. It is an opposition-inspired peddled myth that all Grenada is to receive is US $21.9 million as a result of its homegrown program. The reality is, Grenada is to receive the US $21.9 million from the IMF and at least a further $100 million US dollars. US $30 million from the World Bank, US $30 million from the Caribbean Development Bank, and an unlimited amount in grants from the European Union. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell outlined the facts.
This is just the IMF initial contribution to the program, but you have the World Bank who is providing at least $30 million US dollars of soft loans. The Caribbean Development Bank providing $30 million. US I'm talking about. That's additional resources. The European Union providing significant support, and that one is not soft loan, that's grant. And brothers and sisters, the sky is the limit there. If we perform well, if we meet our targets in the program, we'll get the total amount of money will be above $100 million US dollars.
And that's our picture this week from the home front. This is the current state of affairs. As we speak, our reporters and producers are gathering more stories from across Grenada. We'll be back here next week to share them with you. I am Tahira Natalie Carter.